Welcome back to our lectures on research ethics. In this last module, we'll be talking about ethics in research reports. When we talk about ethical breaches, most of the studies that I've been presenting have been studies that occurred in the past. However, ethical breaches are certainly not an issue of the past. For example, Dr. Staple, pictured here, was a prolific researcher and had many top-tier journal publications, including in the journal Science. And in 2011, it was found that many of his studies were flawed, and in fact, many of his studies were never even conducted. He falsified data and made up entire experiments. These sort of incidences are rare. However, they still illustrate the need for teaching, learning about, and practicing ethical research. When you're writing up a research report, keep in mind that science always seeks the truth. Remember, confirmability is one of the hallmarks that makes psychology a science. The process of replication and replication with extension almost always finds where errors are and finds out when people falsify data. You may be wondering, why would a researcher want to falsify data? You've gone through a decade of graduate study. Why would you misrepresent your data? There's extraordinary pressure to publish when you are a new academic. And in fact, the phrase is called publish or perish. And that is, most publications are granted to those who actually find significant results. And if you do not find significant results, you generally are not published. Within the field, if you're seeking a tenure-track position, you typically have 5 or 6 years to make a certain number of publications. And if you don't, your job security is on the line, because at the end of those 6 years, you're generally let go. So there is pressure exerted by the academic system on researchers who are flailing, and it's not unsurprising that some people will be tempted by ethical breaches in order to save their jobs. How do scientists cheat? Most typical ways they falsify data. That is, they either fabricate or they alter some of their data so that research findings show up to be significant when in fact they are not. While it is completely possible that academic errors in data do happen, a string of academic errors is not an accident. In fact, if you find that you've made an accident and you've already had your articles published, what you actually need to do is issue a retraction. That is, you need to go and say where the error is, and do this as soon as possible so that the error is not perpetrated either by other researchers who are using your research or by policymakers who are making policy decisions. As always, make sure that you do this quickly because people will be replicating your research, and ultimately it could be found out that you've made a mistake. The other way that scientists cheat is through plagiarism. And plagiarism, of course, is the act of presenting someone else's ideas or work as their own. Now, most often, plagiarism is actually an accidental case. It is typically done by students who just simply do not know how to properly cite their materials. With APA style, we have very clear rules about how to cite and how to summarize and paraphrase. If you're using someone's exact words, what you need to do is put those words within quotation marks and then include a reference that identifies the original author. If you are paraphrasing, that is, you're putting material into your own words, you do not need the quotation marks, but you must include a reference that identifies the original author. In an APA style, that is typically the last name of the author, followed by the year. The APA Code of Ethics even has principles related to the way we list authors on publication credits. The APA Code of Ethics specifies that psychologists only take responsibility and credit for work they've actually performed or substantially contributed to. That is, if, for example, you're the chair on a dissertation, most of the work is done by the student. Therefore, your name should not be on that publication. The APA Code of Ethics also specifies who should come first on an article. Principal authorship, that is, the person who is listed first on a publication, is the one who has made the most contribution to that work, irregardless of their status. This includes when students do work. Students should be listed as principal authors on any multiple author article that's substantially based on their doctoral dissertation. The APA Code of Ethics provides fairness for all people involved in writing a research article. By now, I hope you see how violations within ethics in researcher reports can occur. People can falsify data, people can plagiarize work, or people can misidentify credit. However, if you follow the APA Code of Ethics, then you will not have any problems with ethics within your research reports.